The mainstream media comes out in defense of groomers. Super shocker there. Are you concerned about inflation? Good news. Illegal aliens are getting free cell phones, transportation, among other things. And, well, the COOF brought out the crazies, but where does it end? How far will they go? But first, Miss Monica, how are you doing today?
Doing well. Oh my gosh, we have some headlines today. I'm looking forward to covering.
Oh boy, real head scratchers, I'll say that.
All of the craziness that's going on in this world.
You
know,
craziness is the best way to put it. First and foremost, happy Friday Eve to you.
Yes.
We should definitely acknowledge it is the end of our week. Just to remind you, we do this show Monday through Thursday. Unless somehow the kids get in the way, and even then we try to find a creative way to continue our fun time. But we are also in the process of other shows. If you're a Doctor Who fan, we've got one that we're going to try to get to debut this week. And we should be able to pull it off. I mean, it's a lot to juggle, but it's just a lot of fun. So if you're a fan, keep an eye out for the Wibbly Wobbly Timey-Wimey show, among other things in the pipeline. I mean, this is just insane. This first article, I saw this floating around yesterday, and I just couldn't believe it. I thought it was Babylon Bee at first. I honestly did. And I would even say, I even thought about sending it to you and saying, this can't be real. I understand that whenever the right does something, the left just has to come out against it, no matter how crazy it is. And which brings us to the Parental Rights and Education Bill. And man, for some reason, just saying, hey, try not to have secret conversations of a sexual nature with kindergarten through third graders.
Well, not even secret conversations. You're not allowed to have classroom teachings.
Yes. Well, you're not allowed to. You're
about
not allowed to
any
do,
type of sexuality.
True, but they're allowed to do one-on-one things, but they're not allowed to tell the student, don't tell your parents.
Yes. The idea that you're telling children that they need to keep this a secect from their parents. You're right. That's
a part of the bill, but that's just it. I mean, you tell that to you or I, and we go, well, duh. Why would a kindergarten through third grade teacher, or even I would even say the bill doesn't do enough. It should be like kindergarten through maybe like what do they say, 8th grade?
Well, that's because there's this mentality on the left that conservatives and people who believe that man and wife is man and wife
Blasphemy.
are somehow going out and beating their children into this belief. Instead of this being the standard way with a small deviation of the population believing otherwise.
I mean, it's literally how they came to be.
Yes.
Like the entire, you can go the creationist route, you can go the evolutionary route, but at the end of the day, your parents being male and female is why you exist.
But now we've got this mentality and this shift of men can decide to be women and women can decide to be men.
True.
And if you decide that's what your sex is, you have the rights, the privileges, and the biology to back it up. Which is the bigger thing, is that your biology does not change.
No matter how much you mutilate your body.
So maybe I'm
that is
it
true.
wrong.
You're actually not allowed to.
Yes,
we're actually not
disclaimer.
experts on this, of course, because we're not biologists. We always have to make sure we put that disclaimer in. We're not giving biology advice with these blasphemous words that we are saying.
And maybe that's the big thing. Maybe because before 3rd grade, I learned that this is, it wasn't even taught back then at that early of an age.
Of course. Why would it be?
In middle school, when you start to discuss the animal kingdoms and all of the differences between male, female, asexual, and for some reason, people have decided that because they feel that way, they are now part of all of these different categories, which, by all means, live your best life.
Live your best life, but, and I understand, again, this is so controversial, but leave the kids alone.
Yes. Well, it reminds me, do you remember the clip of
alone.
Venture Brothers where they're talking about Captain Sunshine?
Which one? Where it's like, is it the one where they see him flying? And it's like, it's Captain Sunshine. He'll put those criminals away and save the day, but, keep them away from my kids. Am I right?
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But it's this mentality of, because we are saying that we don't want our children to be pushed in that direction.
Groomed.
I
mean, that's literally what the
But
term
to the left, it is we're restricting their freedom. They don't realize that to the conservative base, children are non-sexual.
Well, it's because it's a stereotype, so I'm gonna get that out of the way right now. But people often say that the socialists and liberals, they don't have children; they have your children.
Well, and this is the thing, is that instead of coming to the realization that overall, the majority of people as a whole, and there have been studies done for so long, identify as male or female, specifically with the characteristics that they're brought up in. And we don't have this, ability to just change our sex.
Oh, you mean like frogs?
Yes.
Return of the freaking frogs, gang!
Yes. And now it became so popular to be gay for a period of time that it became kind of cool.
Well, I mean, it's honestly a privileged position right now, and all they do, I'm not going to, when I say they, I actually am referring to the left, but you can take it any way you want. All that this group does is talk about how all of their opponents have a privilege they don't have, when in fact, and this may or may not be true, we're going to look into this and maybe even film it and try it. I saw on Patriots.win a little exchange from somebody who was talking to Adobe about their subscription. Adobe subscription is like $52.99 a month for the entire Adobe suite. Gives you access to everything. I have nothing against Adobe products. They're actually quite awesome. But this obvious right-winger, obvious Trump supporter, engaged in their customer service. And all he did was essentially pose as somebody from the alphabet community and say, do you have a discount for me? I am the oppressed, blah, blah, blah. And he talked to him for a few frames, and then lo and behold, from $52.99 a month, they lowered it to $29.99 a month. And of course he said, thank you, comrade. It was a very funny joke, and we're going to check and see the legitimacy of it, because if it's a thing, A, I want the discount, and B, it shows the power and the privilege that they truly have amassed, even if they are blind to it. I mean, when you say to them, can you just leave the kids alone? And they just, full my pearls, I got to clutch them. If they just lose their minds over that. If it were just a few teachers, I mean, whatever. I'm not going to say, okay, well, they're groomers. Okay, they're taking a stance against whatever they perceive the bill to be. That's their right. But when the entire mainstream media comes out.
Yes.
And let's just, you know what? I'm going to bring up this article. This is from The Week. And again, I saw this yesterday and I thought it was a parody. I almost sent it to you and said, is this the Babylon Bee rebranding themselves?
It came out as The Week now.
It says, why are Republicans so concerned about, quote, grooming, unquote? Suddenly, the American right is fairly exploding with the accusations of sexual, quote, unquote, grooming against its political opponents. Christina Pershaw, the spokesperson for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, used the term last month to defend the so-called Don't Say Gay bill. The so-called by you. You and the media branded it the Don't Say Gay bill because you knew it would drum up insane outrage from people who, I guess like Ron Perlman, just don't know how to read, because obviously if you can't read a 5-line bill, you know what? I just always going to take a moment and just say I love the simplicity of the bill. That's how all the bills should be. One page. What are you trying to accomplish? Yay or nay. That's it. But anyways, they lost their mind.
And that's the thing. They set it up like that, almost hoping that the left would walk into this trap.
It's almost like a honeypot.
It really is.
It's beautiful.
Because then they turn around and they fight against it, saying, oh, well, this is Don't Say Gay. This is, going after this protected community, when it's really not. It's protecting children.
Exactly. And
from
young children.
Overexposure to topics that they don't need to be exposed to.
Exactly. Kids are, for all intents and purposes, and I know if this boils your blood, then you should probably go move to New York and register as a sex offender. But children are essentially sexless. They're goofy little creatures that run around, they mimic adults, they mimic things they see, and they try to have fun no matter what. To them, everything is about how can I enjoy myself? Because they're kids. And that's all it is. That's why this bill, long overdue, is because kids are very susceptible to their environment. I mean, we don't even need to go into studies or psychology or anything. Anyone who's ever been around a kid knows. I mean, kids mimic those around them, and it's all about having a good time. So if you had some impressionable adult, hey, I'm Mr. Bill, I'm your teacher this time, and well, I'm going to talk to you about, what me and my partner did over the weekend. And you're like, did you go hiking? No, we didn't. It's like, okay, that has no business in this conversation.
Well, no. I mean, the the one teacher that you're referencing.
Exactly. I'm referencing the guy on MSNBC.
And from his perspective, from the way that he said it, I can understand why someone would want to avoid an awkward conversation where a child asks them about their sexual orientation. That's the thing, is we have teachers out there trying to say that they have the right to have that conversation with a child and teach the child about their sexual orientation, which is wrong.
I was going to say, I 100% agree. What child who has not been groomed would ever ask a question like that, realistically?
That's the thing, is he was talking about, well, I want to be able to say that I was out paddle boating with my husband.
And say it.
And that's exactly that's
okay.
exactly it.
If you were going to be like me and my partner, we're out having a great time hiking or paddle boating, good job, Mr. Bill.
Here's the thing, is there's a part of the left, there's a part of this society who truly believes that children have been shielded from anything gay related.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Our children accept the fact that there are men out there with men. There's women out there with women. There's a wide variety of people who are with who they love. And it never becomes an issue until the person wants more attention for being that person.
Until the person wants to exercise the privilege we just talked about. And the funny thing is, you talk about our children, and of course we know Disney has been huge in the news lately, and it's even gotten to the point where Disney is now synonymous with groomer, and it's just hilarious. But there's a show that we discovered just recently called Gravity Falls that our kids love. It's a Disney show. It only had 2 seasons. Phenomenal show. Check it out. If you're an adult, there's a lot of humor that goes right over the kid's head that you just will crack up on. But anyways, great show to watch with your kids. However, the 2 police officers very clearly in a relationship. However, it's very rarely touched on outside of a joke of like, oh, officer, whatever your name is, I missed you. Oh, I missed you too. You know, it's very rarely touched upon, but it's there.
Oh, see, I didn't really.
You didn't even realize it.
I didn't. No, I mean, I know what you're hinting at, but I didn't take it like that.
Well, that's just it. In the last episode, in the very, well, okay, I'm not going to go into spoiler territory, but in the finale, they very clearly embraced and expressed their love for each other. But that's the beautiful thing. You are 100% correct in that you could interpret it either way.
Exactly.
They could have been the best of friends, or they could have actually been a couple. And to a kid, it's who cares? They're 2 cops who like each other. They like working together.
I took it in the reference of a kid's mindset of who cares?
Exactly. And that's what I liked about it.
That's what we need to do as a society. It needs to be less of this is the main focus and be more of who cares? Who
cares indeed. So, where were we here?
Unless you're trying to sway someone to be one way or the other. That's
grooming,
when you care.
Which is the issue. So, quote, if you're against the anti-grooming bill, she tweeted, you are probably a groomer, or at least you don't denounce the grooming of 4 to 8-year-old children. Again, kindergarten through 3rd grade, 4 to 8-year-old children is all this bill's talking about. All they're losing their minds about is 4 to 8-year-old children. The reason I think it should have gone farther is because of course, I don't think that conversation should be had until probably a minimum 13.
I don't think that conversation should be had by a teacher at all.
Oh, absolutely. I guess in my mind,
maybe I'm a little bit more conservative in the fact that I don't think that the schools should be teaching anything related to sexual orientation. Yes, I believe that comes down to your individual household, your individual child, your individual situation.
It's the parent's job.
It is very much the parent's job.
Absolutely.
And the fact that we have taken that away from parents and said that the society needs to raise the child is where we've gone wrong. Because we're taking our lead from the now current president of the United States, whose child lost multiple laptops with security codes on them, is in the process of being brought up on charges.
Crazy charges, too. We just saw a whistleblower article where there's apparently like some obscene amount of data that's going to be released containing photographs, videos, documents that have never before been seen, and it's pretty sick. Sorry.
And you can say whatever you want about Beau Biden and about the daughter.
It's not Jill. It's the other one, the diary. Yes, Ashley. Is it Ashley?
But we're supposed to take our parental advice from a man whose son is on camera sleeping with prostitutes and
doing drugs and
drugs
underage individuals, all that. It's literally everything. The worst aspects of anything a child should ever have to go through is literally on camera, and he's just reveling at it. And now this man's father is the president of the United States telling us as parents what we should or should not believe. 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
100%. I'll hop back to the article here. So Rod Dreher, who writes at The American Conservative, has in recent days lobbed the term at Pervy Disney for its belated opposition to the new law and labeled Democrats the party of child mutilators and kidnappers. And MAGA outlet American Greatness on Monday printed a broadside against groomer fragility. It's not a very nice word, to be sure, wrote the American Greatness author, but the right must decide. Do we prefer to play nice with perverts who are very sexually interested in our children, or do we prefer to stand up for the innocence of childhood against societal forces that seek to mutilate little kids for political gain? Man, you remember that picture of the mom getting her child a booster shot? I believe it was a coup shot.
Yes.
And she was tweeting it, and I mean... You know, I talked about AOC and Adam Schiff and, like, the crazy-eyed people. Oh, man, this lady was frightening. But the point is, it wasn't about the kid in that picture. No. She was looking at her camera, and she was happy to be doing it for the masses.
Well, because that's the difference between some of the more liberal parents and some of the more conservative parents. When a truly conservative parent makes a decision for their child, or makes a decision concerning their child.
Exactly.
Yeah. Their child and the child's development is the focus.
Yep. You would think it.
When a liberal parent does it, it's how much feedback can I get from the outside world to validate my decision as a parent.
It's about virtue signaling.
Yes.
100%.
And that's why you end up with these kids who don't understand that their parents there to help them make decisions,
right?
And not their parents there to bring in the community vote
on
how to make a decision.
Yes, children should not be part of the collective as far as decisions being made for adults. But anyways, and here's where he starts to actually go on the defensive. It says, it's hard to know how much of this is sincere hysteria and how much is ugly McCarthyist politics. Mostly the latter, probably. In its normal usage, quote, groomer suggests a sexual predator carefully prepping their prey for assault. But Dreher, who has long been obsessively shrill about the rise of gay and trans identities in American culture, says that's not really what he means. Quote, I think it is coming to have somewhat of a broader meaning, an adult who wants to separate children from a normative sexual and gender identity to inspire confusion in them and turn them against their parents and all the normative traditions and institutions in society. It may not specifically be to groom them for sexual activity, but it is certainly to groom them to take on a sexual gender identity at odds with the norm. I don't see anything controversial with that. Do you? With what he's saying
I mean,
there?
that's exactly what it is.
Exactly. And, the fact that the immediate defense was like, why do you hate alphabet people? Why are you against this or that? And it's like, I didn't say anything about them. You associated that. All I said was leave the kids alone.
Well, and it's hiding behind that smokescreen.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing about it is they immediately think it's an attack on their community. And of course, that says more about them than we ever could, that they think when you say, hey, don't groom children, they say, how dare you attack our community? It's like, no, we're not attacking any communities. We're literally saying, leave the children alone. The bill itself that you claim is called the Don't Say Gay bill could easily be called the Don't Say Straight bill because it bans all discussions. All discussions because kids shouldn't be talking about this stuff, and adults shouldn't be talking about it with them.
And when it comes down to it, the teacher should be saying, "Go ask your parents."
As always, I mean the over encroachment of the government into our everyday lives and now into our children's lives has never been worse, and that's why I think the biggest thing that we can all hope for is a reduced federal government. It should be up to the states. It should be up to the parents. It should be up to we should be, and we've seen this a lot with. The parents' response at school board meetings, and of course the DOJ's response of labeling the parents as terrorists and monitoring them when all they're saying is, hey, why are you teaching our kid this stuff? We want to say in this because this is not cool. Then, of course, the triggering begins. And that has led us here. We actually have a bill that all it says, like I said a million times, it literally just says, hey, kindergarten through third grade, just keep this discussion out of it. If they ask you, tell them, you can either tell their parents, or if you do tell them something, make sure that they know they can discuss it with their parents, and they should.
Yes.
Because the thing is, you're still allowed to do that with this bill. It doesn't say you cannot talk to them, period. You can't do it in a public discussion, and you can't lead a class like that. But if a kid comes up and asks you, which, again, probably shows something else going on, but if a kid for some reason comes up to the teacher and asks them, they are allowed to comment. However, they cannot say anything to the child about not talking to their parents. So I would say, I agree with you, the safest thing that anyone can do in this position, go ask your parents.
Yeah.
They'll give you the answer that they approve of, and then I'm not liable.
Well, and kind of jumping over to your next article.
Oh, yes. This is a good one.
And really the line underneath it says it all. So the Texas Tribune, so the Republicans say they don't want young kids learning about sex. Educators say that's already the standard.
And the article title, critics of Texas's push for don't say gay bill, say acknowledging LGBTQ people isn't the same as teaching kids about sex. And then, like you said, the byline, Republicans say they don't want young kids learning about sex. Educators say that's already the standard. Unfortunately, we as being conservatives have been asleep at the wheel too long. I mean, the response that's what we've been doing. The COOF was good for a lot of things. Everybody being on Zoom calls acknowledged what they were trying and what they have been pushing to the children this entire time. And if their immediate response is, well, that's how it's always been, well, then it's overdue for an overhaul.
Well, and the bigger part is that, yes, there was, and this is just like the whole racism argument, there was a time in our society where being gay, lesbian, bisexual was not acceptable.
It wasn't. It
was almost like a shadow ban. It was like a thing that people didn't talk about. And even before that, you know, it was an attackable offense. There are religious extremists on both sides of this, and you can view it as a religion thing because there are anti-gay, anti-bisexual. Oh, you can.
Absolutely.
Yes, there are groups that are extremely bigoted in their views on that. And then there are also groups who live this way, feel this way, and are trying to fight for themselves. Yep. But the media push on both sides of this is what the problem is because we grew up during a time period where, I mean, how many shows had a character going through a struggle with their sexuality and coming out to someone close to them? I mean, it was the OC, and then...
well, you're talking like 2000s when this movement really started to gain momentum. Because I do remember in the 90s, there was an ad campaign where it was like, I'm sure you remember this, it was like, I just remember it started with, boys kissing boys, girls kissing girls, what does it all mean? And then it had like a number for something. I can remember, this was like the 90s when this started. Actually, it might have even been the 80s.
And then it became kind of this Sex in the City. They've got the gay friends. They've got the stereotypes. I mean,
Will and Grace.
Yes,
it just started to become mainstream. You're right.
It became mainstream. It became more accepting.
Yeah.
And now it's like they're stoking up bitterness again.
Yeah. It's just division and
one
hatred.
side against the other.
That's all they want.
And that's the thing is that the LGBTQ community is a community, but it's also separate groups of people.
What's the Q?
Queer.
LBG. What's the G?
Gay, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual, queer.
I guess I'll have to look up definitions. I thought queer was covered.
Don't go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, really? That's a rabbit hole? I mean, I know that they're trying to force on an entire secondary alphabet onto there. And, of course, we have seen this in the last couple of years. Actually, I think it was 2017 or 2018. There was a huge push to get a P put onto this acronym. And I'm glad that it failed.
No, it's still being pushed.
Is it?
And that's exactly what this is about.
Wow. I thought that died.
No.
I mean, obviously it didn't, but I thought the mainstream part of it
within the next 10 years, I guarantee you they're going to try and turn the P into a protected class.
Oh, I mean, look at the push we're just seeing right now.
Yes.
Look at the kickback when all we said was don't talk to young kids about this stuff.
And look at the Supreme Court Justice nominee now.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
It is all about that letter P, and saying that Disney's not connected to that, wake up, people.
Yep. Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah. We saw the leaked Zoom call where it showed that their producers and directors are literally talking about how they want to insert as much of this stuff into their children's programming as possible. Go Daily Wire. Make more content. Anyways.
Yes, Daily Wire. Please
Daily Wire. Make children's content. Make safe stuff.
And, I mean, going back to some of the... It really is just the parents need to take control of the situation and cut your kids off from TikTok. Because we've seen...
Oh, yeah. TikTok definitely is not a children's it's not a children's app. If your kids happen to have phones, ban it from their phone. Just save yourself trouble. We're not even talking about, Chi-Com, anything. We're literally talking about the nature of their algorithms push children in certain directions. And as we said, children are very susceptible. So ban TikTok.
We have a family member currently who is in love with Disney.
Yes, that's fair.
This person absolutely loves everything Disney, and oh man, she had a very hard time. You remember what was it, like 5 or 6 years ago when it came out that Disney had so many child abductions every year going on at the
that's
parks?
still going on. They're still arresting people for child trafficking in Disney.
Yeah, just recently. Yeah. And the judge was connected to that case.
But, Judge Ketanji Brown. That was she was on the Pizzagate trial too.
Yes, and no, there was another judge who was actually arrested for evidence being linked to
you're right,
the trafficking.
Right.
Yep. But and I feel so bad for this family member because she's like the greatest person. She's so bubbly, and do you remember when everything came out about Michael Jackson and she was in love with him and it broke her heart?
Yes,
it
broke her
there
heart.
Are innocent people in the crossfire here who are going to have to make a decision on if they're going to look the other way and still support something because they love the creativity behind it.
Well, I mean, I feel like anyone who is not on the side of this bizarre cult trying to abduct children will say, okay, the line is children.
Yeah.
The line of you can no longer just look away when you know this is going on, it's affecting your children. And it's very controversial to say, but I think that this campaign actually started with the push to demonize essentially stay-at-home moms. If you look at, there's been a distinct push, and there's nothing wrong with, obviously, and it's sad that I have to say this, but there's nothing wrong with pursuing a career. There's nothing wrong with living your life. There is something wrong with saying there's something wrong about wanting to stay home and raise your family.
Yes.
And that is the problem. That movement has been going on for so long that now someone who, what do? Oh, I'm a mother. Wasting your life. They've come out so hard against it that now, it almost seems by design, we can isolate the children because we've encouraged the mothers to go to work. It's just there's a rabbit hole here. I see the connections. I'm gonna start drawing up things on the wall and connecting them.
Well, and it goes to a bigger statement that the United States, for some reason, we are all so concerned with how the world is viewing our side, and we need to identify. That's why, when I say the LGBTQ plus community, and I said don't look into all the different definitions because it actually it will make your head spin, is because people feel this need to be validated in their choice to be who they are instead of just simply being who they are.
Very true. Very true. Everyone has to be special. It's main character syndrome.
Yeah.
Everyone feels like they have to be special and they have to fight an oppressor and overcome them. And you know what? Maybe Marvel movies are to blame after all. Ever since Iron Man, it's all been about overcoming adversity, man.
Yes, we're all about the being the little guy.
Oh, we seem to be getting bored here. Let's go ahead and hop over to the post-millennial. Now, this is, oh my God, this just, again, this is...
Of course CNN would.
Of course, CNN's Brian Stelter, Mr. Potato Head himself, defends Disney from pedophilia and grooming accusations. Oh my God, I'm not going to go too much into this, but this just shows where the media stands on this whole thing. And I have heard and seen plenty of rumors that this guy is on the out. Do it. Do it.
Well, and I love the caption. Why the right-wing media is targeting Mickey Mouse. We're not targeting Mickey Mouse.
That's what we're doing. We're targeting Mickey Mouse. That's
Mickey
it.
Mouse had nothing to do with the corporate execs.
Divert. I got to divert what they're talking about. Oh, my goodness. So, quote, in the United States, we're seeing a theme of the midterm elections emerging. It's the way you can see a wave start to form far from shore before it breaks on the beach. The theme, the talking point on the right, is about protecting kids from the dangers of the Walt Disney Company, Stelter said. Really? But Disney is just a stand-in. It's just a symbol for something bigger, a conservative backlash to grow an acceptance of gay and transgender people, a conservative fear that traditional beliefs are being trampled on, and there are entire networks that program to this fear and many politicians that react to it. That's the real story here. God, they live in a different world. They have been in their own bubble, eating their own refuse for so long that reality just isn't a thing anymore. Well, yes, no, we're upset with Disney. That's where the problem is. It's Disney. We are disappointed in Disney, but really?
No, because this is their marketing campaign. Because if something turns you against one of their companies that supports them financially, they have to guilt you back into wanting to support that company. I would much rather support companies that I believe in that have a great product. And like the off-brand Oreos.
Don't bring Oreos into this, you bigot. Don't buy the off-brand Oreos. They don't like the alphabet people.
Well, and that's the thing is that they're really, really pushing this agenda of how dare you attack a kids company? Well, how dare a company attack my kids?
There it is, right there. And I mean, I know you mock it, but I mean, honestly, when I'm shopping and I pick up when I pick up my thing of Oreos and I'm comparing it to other cookies, I have to call an employee over. Hey, which one of these supports would I support? Do you know? Does it affect the taste if one of these supports my ideology? And they just go, get out of the store, sir.
Ideology are you?
Yeah, what is your ideology? Yeah, let's see them run these ads in, I don't know, China or Saudi Arabia. The thing about this is it's all superficial, even from Disney. Because they can run the most bizarre ad campaigns however much they want. Yeah, go ahead and look at, what's an easy example? I mean, you can look at Mulan, where they're thinking concentration camps in the credits. Or, I've got a good one. Star Trek The Force Awakens. If you look at the poster in America, you see Finn with the lightsaber right on the big front of it. Nah, I don't have it. With the big, right there on the front of it. And it looks really sweet. He's, yeah. You look at the China one, he is straight down to the bottom corner. They literally redid it to shrink him down and minimize his role, even though he's obviously a main character. He obviously deserves that to be holding that mighty lightsaber right there. And yet, look it up. 100% real. In fact, I could do it right now, but you know what?
Well, and I mean, and this is the case across the globe.
Yes.
Every specific area. And we have this mentality as Americans to think that everywhere runs like America.
Yeah.
And that's why the two guys who ended up in Mexico on TikTok
man,
were crying because they were held at gunpoint.
This male couple, they were going bird watching, and they have this entire channel about bird watching. Very innocent. I mean, they really were just very ignorant to the situation, but they went over the Mexican border into cartel land, and as they were bird watching, the cartel members came up and were like tapping on their door with guns, and I mean, you want to talk about effeminate reaction? These dudes lost it. They were like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Yeah.
And of course the Mexicans, the cartel members were like, what are you doing here? And then when they showed them, we're just bird watching. Here's our stuff. Here's everything. They were like, okay, that's fine, but you guys got to get out of here. You're gonna get hurt if you hang around here.
I mean, it's walking into the middle of a war zone and having no idea.
Be like, this looks like a good place for photographs. What?
And that's part of what some of these people are doing with the whole back and forth between Disney and the parents, and that's kind of what Disney stepped into.
Oh, I thought you were going for the angle of the Redditors who went to Ukraine to fight, and they ended up not only getting killed, but giving away locations and getting entire platoons killed
which is horrible, like horrible.
Oh, it is horrible. It's privilege. It's pampered privilege.
It really is.
They, like you said, they think the rest of the world is America. They think we're the absolute worst. Well, we are literally the last shining beacon of true freedom. You can't do 90% of the things you do here anywhere else. You will straight up get murdered.
There's a lot of places that have freedom. They have freedom in the different sense that the United States have. In a different
sense than the United States, which is not the definition of freedom.
Well, and neither is ours if you really look at it. And trying to turn our country into the third world country is not helping.
Trying to Venezuela us or get us into this mentality of like they want us to be like China. I mean, for some reason, they went over, they saw the revolution that happened in China, and the politicians said, how can we get that? and that has led us to where we are now. And we'll get to where that path leads us. But I tell you what, this topic is insane. The fact that we are sitting here having to defend the ever controversial stance of leave my kids alone.
Yeah.
Stop talking about sex to my kids is insane. So you know what? We're going to hop to something else. I mentioned in the intro, life has got you down. Well, good news is, if you're, you know what? I'm going to go to the second article, then we'll go back to the first one, because I feel it's important to talk about. From Fox News, the Biden administration giving cell phones to illegal immigrants. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said the purpose is to, quote, track and check in with them. Excuse me, I'm a legal citizen who actually pays for this crap. Can I get a free cell phone? I mean, you're already tracking me. I already check in. Can I get a free cell phone?
No, but now we're just paying for them to track us.
We're just paying for these people to get free cell phones, even though they are literally here illegally, already sapping off of our system, and now the White House is going to give them more. So let's see. The White House confirmed Wednesday that illegal immigrants are being provided with electronic devices, notably cell phones, in an effort for the Biden administration to track and check in with them as they await immigration court proceedings. Okay, how about this? How about you just don't let them enter our country?
Yeah.
I mean, why don't we just reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy that Trump successfully had? Oh, no, that because then they wouldn't be Democrat voters.
Yes.
Well, quote, we need to take steps to ensure that we know where individuals are and we can track and we can check in with them, Psaki said. The Alternatives to Detention program, which is what we utilize, has 3 unique forms of technology to monitor participants enrolled in the program, Psaki said. Telephonic is one of them, which uses a participant's voice to create a biometric voice print during the enrollment process. And when the participant has a check-in call, their voice is compared to the voice print. Yes, I am so sure.
We have now escalated this to the point of we know that it's you because of your voice print.
Yeah.
Not because of your documentation that you're required to have.
Nope.
But because your voice print is going to tell us that it's you.
Yeah. Right.
Because that worked so well when they were trying to do facial identification.
I can't wait for this chick to be gone. Although, interesting, random aside, she actually is going to be leaving to go to, I believe it was NBC. MSNBC. Well, I don't know if you saw the NBC, I want to say director, might have been owner. He had to have an emergency meeting because of the backlash of people saying, she shouldn't be coming here. It's going to make our station look terrible and biased like CNN.
Well, not only that, but she was, I believe, engaged in negotiations for that next job while she's still doing what she's doing.
Oh, yeah.
So having access to confidential information that reporters are not supposed to have access to, and then bringing her over to another news network.
I mean, this is their playbook, though. I mean,
well, of course it is.
You spin, and that's all she's doing. Old Chucky here is just spinning nonstop this BS about using our money to buy illegal aliens' cell phones for tracking purposes. All she's doing is spinning that, and that's the game. You spin well enough, and they go, okay, here's your cushy job at CNN or as an analyst, or in this case, NBC is trying to get into that game. I mean, MSNBC is insane as it is. I mean, you look at, what's her name? Joy Reid? I forget. There's just a ton of nutcases. It's hard to keep them all straight, but she'll fit in right there. It's just surprising to me that there's a backlash about NBC trying to be like, whoa, we don't want to look like CNN and be so biased, and... Yeah, well, you're a little late to the game there.
Well,
bro.
Again, this just screams to the mentality of, well, I'm going to give my 13-year-old a cell phone.
Yeah.
And allow them to just have free reign over what they're doing.
Yep.
You don't think that your 13-year-old is going to leave their cell phone wherever they want you to think that they are? When they know that you're monitoring them?
I was going to say if they're smart, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I think it's some crazy statistic, like 86% of... illegal aliens that are claiming asylum or something, some official reason to be let in, never show up for their follow-up cases. And why would they? They're already in the country. They're already being giving free phones, and we're about to talk about how they're being given doctor attention and transportation. But that one's good. That one's actually pretty good. But the very fact that they came into this country illegally, they're here illegally, and the administration is spending money and resources from us to them.
Well,
in a time when we are in a pinch.
If the United States was supposed to take on all the woes of the world, then the United States would be running the world. The United States is not, because it's the United States.
It's so simple And all that mockery about us not being the world police, and here they are, oh, well, we have to give it to them. We have to. Do you know how hard it is to come here? Man, I live here. Don't talk to me about someone else's journey. If they wanted to go through a journey, they could go through the legal journey, become a citizen, and contribute. That is the journey. So, hopping over to Breitbart, and again, if your blood isn't clotting, it's going to be boiling. From Josh Hawley, Biden must disclose if he is diverting doctors from U.S. veterans, sending them to treat border crossers. Of course, this is a picture of one of their previous facilities because they had so many illegal aliens. They literally were just fencing them in under bridges and hoping that people didn't see them. Of course, photos started to get out, which led to the infamous midnight flights to get them out of there because, well, it's bad publicity. We better start sending them across the country. President Bo Biden must disclose if he is planning to divert doctors from the Department of Veteran Affairs to send them to treat border crossers and illegal aliens, Senator Josh Hawley says. In a letter to the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, Hawley accuses Biden of exacerbating historically high illegal immigration levels with plans to end Title 42, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention Authority that has allowed officials to quickly return more than 1.7 million illegal aliens to their native countries since 2020. Pause, break. Last year alone, I think there was a record number of something like upwards of 2 million that we know about illegal aliens released into our country. Just going to throw that out there. So 1.7 million were returned. 2 million that we know of are here, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, baby. Following reports over the last week, Hawley is asking Biden to clarify and disclose if his administration is considering sending VA doctors meant to be caring for American military veterans to the U.S.-Mexico border to provide free medical care to border crossers and illegal aliens. Hawley writes, I am particularly alarmed at new reports suggesting that DHS plans to divert doctors from the Department of Veterans Affairs to provide free medical resources to those crossing our border illegally. In the words of one Customs and Border Protection official, we're going to take medical services away from the people that really deserve that, who went to combat to give free medical attention to illegal migrants.
Yeah.
Oh, this is infuriating. I mean, I get it. It's a long-standing joke, borderline meme that the left has to essentially illegally import their voter base. But this is just insane. We're giving them free cell phones. We are diverting military aid from our own veterans to these illegal aliens. And the best we can do is a stern letter. At what point does it end? Will it end? This is insane.
There are those out there doing more than just a stern letter.
That is true. You know, there are a couple individuals who have an alternative plan. From the Gateway Pundit, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says he will bus illegal immigrants dumped in Florida to Biden's home state of Delaware. This is a thing of beauty. And I'm going to say that I don't know if it's in the article. I know this one's primarily... Oh, no, it is. We'll get to it then. All right. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis announced on Wednesday that he will send the illegal immigrants dumped by Biden's administration in Florida to Biden's home state of Delaware. DeSantis vowed to transfer the illegal immigrants to sanctuary states like Delaware, saying they now have funding for rerouting.
Yes. Yep. And here's the thing. So rather than allow this to become an issue in a state that doesn't want it, that isn't leaning that way, give it to the states that's their policy. If it's your policy to be a sanctuary state, then by all means, go ahead and take on these immigrants.
Dump them right on their front lawn.
Take them into the system. See what you can do with them. If you can make it work, power to you.
Yep.
If you can support that. But on a federal level and on a state-by-state level, like you can't just say federally, we're going to take all these people in.
Oh, no. And then, of course... Not only just say we're going to take all these people in, but we are going to secretly fly them and release them into your state literally at midnight under cover of darkness without telling anyone and just release them into your states. They do this primarily to red states. So, I mean, it's obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to change the demographic by force. And so I'm with DeSantis here. You want them, you take them. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to me because, of course, they preach all day and night about these things. Actually, you know what? I've got an example. Back during the Black Lives Matter riots a couple years ago when they were burning down cies.
You mean those parties?
It was Summer of Love, actually.
Those parties with the fire in the background?
Billions of dollars damage, numerous deaths, injuries, all that good stuff. Yes, during the Summer of Love, I remember seeing a tweet chain where some guy was like, he saw all the destruction happening, and he goes, yeah, Black Lives Matter, stick it to them, make them pay. And then, about an hour later, whoa, wait a minute, whoa, they're coming into our neighborhoods. Why are you coming into our neighborhoods? No, go the other way, stop it, someone help.
Yeah.
This is their mentality. If they are busing people to red states, they're like, good riddance, we'll change the demographic. If we take these exact same illegals that Biden flies in and we dump them on his front doorstep, there will be outrage.
That's all I'm saying. Like, let them deal with it and take it out of take it out of the Fed's hands. I mean, and go more local with it. If you have
take what out of the Fed's hands? Everything? I agree.
A lot of things. Yes. And even when it comes, okay, so Camel Toe Harris needs to stay away from the southern border. That's fine. She doesn't want to go there anyway.
But she's the border czar.
So stop diverting federal funds towards the border. Put it into a states-only hands and have states negotiate. Well, you're closest to the border. Obviously, border protection is going to be one of your big things.
You should see what the Arizona governor, she's running for governor. She's been not supported, but... endorsed, thank you. She's been endorsed by President Trump. She is flat out saying, if I get in there, it ends. We are building the wall. We are deploying the military to the border. This crap ain't flying here, and that's how it should be.
But then, if it becomes too much for a state like Arizona, and they're taking on a high cost of it, then they reach out to the state next door to them, saying, "Hey, either our option is that you help us fund this protection on this side, and we make an allegiance and an agreement between our two states as far as budgeting for this, or we allow the immigrants in and they cross over to your state."
Yeah, you can have the aliens if that's what you want. Like, you can deal with it.
Yes, and it just needs to be more of a round, like less of a federal is going to decide that this is how the border is going to be treated, and more of a case by case. Because Michigan, we're right on. I mean, we touch Canada.
Those Canadian border crossers.
Well, and I remember...
We're constantly fighting the North.
Well, I remember when it was easy to just go over to Canada.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day where you could just, hey, it's the weekend. Let's go to Canada.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
When you were 19, you're like, okay, I want to go drink. Where can I go drink? Well, we'll just go drive down to Detroit.
To Canada.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were allowed to do that. And now you have to have a restricted passport to get across the border. And that wasn't on our side. That was on the Canadian side. When they said, okay, we're sick and tired. Like, we'll take your money. But it got to the point where it was becoming more of a nuisance than it was a benefit.
Yes.
And that's when they started to say, okay, we're going to start restricting.
Yep.
So we kind of need to do the same thing on a case by case along each part of the border until it's defended.
Absolutely. DeSantis has the right idea. And from the same article, this is what I was going to mention earlier. On the same day, Texas Governor Greg Abbott also announced he would begin to use up to 900 charter buses, or, quote, as many as needed, to send illegal immigrants to Washington, D.C. as part of his strategy for the overwhelming influx of illegal immigrants. Quote, to help local officials whose communities are being overwhelmed by hordes of illegal immigrants who are being dropped off by the Biden administration, Texas is providing charter buses to send these illegal immigrants who have been dropped off by the Biden administration to Washington, D.C.
Yes.
We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately adjust the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border. And of course, we know why this is happening. We know about why Biden's doing it, why they're taking all these illegals and releasing them into red states. It's because the Latino vote, and this is evidenced very clearly in Florida, where districts that are historically blue are flipping red. They've essentially lost the Latino vote with all this nonsense they've been doing with open borders, communism, all this. Many of these people fled socialism, communism, and when they see them trying to take root here, the support is just gone. I think this is, of course, we know, the red wave, the doom being foretold for the Democratic Party in the midterms. We know that there is a change coming, and this just again feels like panic and desperation to try the hardest to stop it, to stem this what's the word I'm looking for, to plug the leak. It's probably a good way to put it.
Well, and it's just so funny to see these places that, yes, we have open arms. We're going to take everyone in. Okay. Then ahead. Do it.
Yeah. Oh no, not here. We meant the red states. They'll take care of them.
Yep. Well, we figured it would trickle in slowly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It would, no. If you want that, and that's the policy that you're advertising, which Biden's administration has clearly said, come to the United States.
From day one, he was saying
protect you.
Yep.
And even better now. Kamala doesn't have to go to the southern border because it's coming to her, apparently.
I was just going to say that. She doesn't need to be the border czar if there's no border. Ooh, big brain power. Wow. Ay. Okay. Well, that was infuriating. How about a little bit of levity? We have an interesting update to an ongoing saga for the last couple of years. Black Lives Matter. Whatever happened to them? Well, I'll tell you what happened to them. They've been buying mansions. They've been taking all that hard-earned money that people donated to their cause and buying it. But don't you dare talk about it, because it is racist. Black Lives Matter co-founder lashes out at, quote, racist media for exposing $6 million mansion. Yep. Wow. The Black Lives Matter co-founder, Patrice Cullors, lashed out at, quote, racist media covering that exposed her $6 million mansion in Los Angeles that was purchased with donor funds. The report was published by the investigative journalist Sean Kevin Campbell, a black man, in New York Magazine on Tuesday, the Washington Examiner reported. Cullors called Campbell's reporting a, quote, racist and sexist attack against Black Lives Matter. You know, I love it. I love that that's what they have. The same playbook they've literally used for the last 5 years. Call them an anistophobe, say they're a Russian puppet. It doesn't matter. It's literally just, has no effect on anyone anymore. You've beaten those terms to death, but that is all they know. Quote, yesterday's article in the New York Magazine is a despicable abuse of a platform that's intended to provide truthful information to the public. Truthful information. Journalism is supposed to mitigate, I can do this, mitigate harm and inform our communities. Wow. Oh boy, I got a bridge to sell you. That fact that a reputable publication will allow a reporter with a proven and very public bias against me and other black leaders to write a piece filled with misinformation, innuendo, and incendiary opinions is disheartening and unacceptable. She quietly purchased the property in October 2020 in the Los Angeles Studio City neighborhood and provided in donor funds to Diane Pascal, who has close ties with Cullors, the outlet reported. The co-founder made the purchase with just 2 weeks after the organization received a $66.5 million cash infusion from a former fiscal sponsor. Wow. So I'm just really curious. I really wonder what part of this is filled with misinformation, innuendo, and incendiary opinions.
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, where are we going to get to that?
Well, and we don't have his article, do we?
Let me see. Let me see. Washington. Okay, let me look at this real quick. So, New York Magazine on Tuesday. We do, in fact, have it.
Okay.
So this is the intelligence, sir. Let me bring this. Let me make sure it's not behind a paywall. It's not. Okay. So here is the original article. Black Lives Matter secretly bought a $6 million house. Allies and critics alike have questioned where the organization's money has gone. And then, yeah, he just goes into it. Let's see. So what are we looking for in this article?
So what exactly is it that he says, aside from pointing out that they bought a $6 million mansion, that is so offensive to this woman? And so she said, it's bigger than me. It's about a long history of attacking black people and black women specifically, creating unsafe conditions for us and our families, scrutinizing our every move publicly and privately in ways that are unfair and unjust, she said on Instagram. Oh. It's dangerous and we should all be trying to stop it, interrupt it, and protest it.
Well, I've got something here. Let's see. From the article, it says, quote, I think they've attempted to cancel us, but they have not been successful in canceling us. They've attempted to say, and I'm just going to say it, quote, she bought some damn houses. We going to cancel her. She cut in with a comment seemingly addressed to critics. Y'all don't know ish about what it takes to live in a box here. Yeah, that's what it is. $6 million houses, and we just don't understand. Bought with donor money. Wow. This is... I mean, I'm just skimming through this article now, and it is, I mean, it's nothing. It really is like nothing aside from just the facts, or at least who the author believes to be the facts, and it looks pretty good. I don't see any issues here, but of course,
well, so
that's
in
the
her
only
quote,
response.
In the Daily Caller article, it says, I've never misappropriated funds, and it pains me so many people have accepted that narrative without the presence of tangible truth or facts, she continued. Okay, misappropriation of funds and buying things for the business. So Color says she does not own or reside in the mansion, the outlet reported. Oh. The home was used to film videos for her personal YouTube account. Oh. She deleted all videos on the account Tuesday. Okay, so why does Black Lives Matter as an organization, if it's not her personal home,
right?
Why do they need to own a $6 million mansion?
For YouTube videos, of course.
And that's...
$6 million mansion, and they're trying to say
vet the charities that you donate to.
No kidding. You see here, right before what you read, it says, quote, "This is bigger than me. It's about a long history of attacking black people and black men." Wow, it's dangerous, and we should all be trying to stop it, interrupt it, protest it, she said on Instagram. Good gravy. Well, this is what happens when virtue signaling goes wrong. However...
Well, a Black Lives Matter board member, Bowers, told the Examiner that Colors used Pascal for the property purchase to avoid exposing the organization to liability. Number one, that sounds like laundering.
That's fraud, yeah.
Colors said that the property purchase was undisclosed because it needed repairs and renovations.
Oh, of course.
When you buy something that needs repairs and renovations, you don't need to keep it a secret. Yeah, all of this is... Wow.
It doesn't say it in here that, but I did read another article that actually she paid $6 million for the house. The house was listed at, I think, like $2.3 million or $3.2 million. I might be dyslexic, but the point is the house was listed for around half of what she paid for it. Who she paid it, the agent that she bought it from was a friend. You can take that information and do with it as you see fit. But I mean, it doesn't matter because that's racist. That's the only response you have.
That's exactly it. Like,
you can't hide behind that shield forever.
She's going to sit there and say, well, it's racist for you to tell people how much I bought this for. Well, if you're connected with a nonprofit organization and their funds need to be public record on what things are bought, and you don't disclose something,
right,
you're getting further and further away from being this source of light and justice that you claim to be.
Oh, yeah. Nothing says social justice like taking donations for a cause and buying a mansion with them.
Well, and that's exactly how they hide things, and that's how this liberal woke side decides to siphon money. And it's not we're virtue signaling for the sake of the LGBTQ community, for the sake of Black lives, for the sake of... It is... How can I make money off of this spin?
How will this benefit me?
So the next article that I actually sent
this
you,
one. Yeah, this one's all you,
Review. Professor Karen, woke Stanford education professor, calls the cops on Berkeley professor who exposed her $5,000 an hour consulting fee.
Jeez, must be nice.
So remember when we had the conversation about vetting employees and at the state level and all of the things that... so this woman's resume... for Joe Bowler, professor of mathematics education at the Stanford Graduate School of Education, criticism can be a touchy subject. In 2006, she actually left her post for multiple years after a mathematician, James Milgram, exposed the shoddy methodologies she used in her work. So she was so bad at her job that she left it for years before coming back. She returned to Stanford in 2010, and since then, her influence on public education policy in the United States, particularly in California, has grown considerably. Recently, she has served as one of the authors of the California Math Framework, a document that will set the direction of math education for California's millions of students for years to come. As educator emeritus Maxwell Meyer wrote in Pirate Wires, the CMF is loaded with nonsense. Among other things, the CMF criticizes the rush to calculus and even the offering of algebra in middle school, which has been standard for decades.
I'm starting to feel like so many aspects of our society are just money laundering institutions. You know
well, and it used to be we want kids to excel, especially in math.
Yeah, it used to be.
You know, and we want them to learn these things, and now we've switched to this. We need social emotional learning classes.
Geez, yeah. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. The CMF further promotes the use of several labor union-themed mathematics lessons in which 8th grade students are taught to advocate for a living wage and actually learn from union activists in the classroom.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Public education just has gone so far downhill. It's embarrassing.
One of the more controversial ideas propagated in the CMF is Bowler's assertion that gifted children are a myth. The CMS says in its opening pages, we reject ideas of natural gifts and talents, and policies it sets forth reflect this position. It is an outright attack on high standards math.
Oh, my God.
So looking back over the history books and kind of seeing, so you're telling me Einstein was not gifted.
No, of course not.
Beethoven was not gifted.
Of course not.
There's no such thing as a gifted
There's
child.
not. There's no such thing. They just had teachers who were lost to history who were teaching these exact things.
Yes.
That's exactly what it was. Otherwise, they just couldn't have done it without it.
Yes. So then enters this professor from Berkeley, Jelani Nelson, a CSEE professor at Berkeley. His criticism was twofold. First, he criticized the CMF for having low standards, and second, he exposed Bowler's $5,000 an hour consulting fee charged to public school districts and questioned whether she was really doing right by minority students. So Nelson comes out saying, your policies are garbage, and you overcharge the state for it.
Reasonable response.
Yeah. So Joe Bowler gets so upset about this, she sends him an email.
Oh, here it is.
Dear Professor Nelson, as you know, I am one of the authors of the proposed mathematics framework, and I know you are working to oppose it. If you had ever reached out to any of the authors, we could have worked together to make sure your concerns were listened to and acted on. That's BS. Otherwise, you would actually want to address this. As a courtesy to fellow faculty member, I wanted to let you know that the sharing of private details about me on social media yesterday is now being taken up by police and lawyers. I was shocked to see that you're taking part in spreading misinformation and harassing me online.
Wow.
And you look at and she even captions his tweet in this email. The proposed CA math framework states improving math learning for black students was as central motivation and has 0 black authors. Instead, one author has alarmingly lucrative consulting deals with school districts with large minority populations charging $5,000 an hour. I don't see how any part of that is false.
Yeah.
And I don't see, it's public record. When you work for a consulting fee, it's on the books. It's not that you can't look this up.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
it's not misinformation because it's clearly stated that that's her consulting fee.
Absolutely.
They have receipts for that.
Yeah, they accepted it. She said, this is what I'm going to charge. They said, sure thing. I mean, there's nothing to be ashamed of unless you have reason to be ashamed of it.
Yes. And Nelson goes on to criticize, saying that it's very interesting. Hold on. Where did it go in the article?
Which part? You see Nelson first part fired back at Bowler on Twitter saying it is horrifying that the CMF claiming to uplift black children was co-authored by a person who finds police intimidation against blacks acceptable. I encourage concerned alumni and members of the Stanford community to express your concern to the university administration. Yes.
So this woman who claims to be speaking for these minorities and writing this CMF to stand up for them and get rid of gifted children, when she's confronted by someone who doesn't believe what she believes, instead of arguing points and sitting down and having a discussion about it, she decides that she's going to tell them that she's calling the cops.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, that's
for what exactly, we don't really know.
Yeah, well, I mean, debate is kind of a thing of the past, if you haven't noticed. They have no interest in debating. You hold a mirror up or you put a flashlight on what they're doing and they just, and run off into the night.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. And I'm sorry, this I find funny.
This is funny, and I think we should just hop right here to the last part of it, because this is the part that won me over when we were originally discussing this. It says, here's the reality. Bowler has been exposed over the past year as a charlatan whose ideas are not only disastrous for children, but a political liability for left-wing politicians in California who need parents to keep voting for them. And now she has been exposed as a rent seeker and a cheap scammer and is lashing out at the person who posted evidence. Can we get a better caricature of the left.
Yes.
I mean, that ties in directly to the parental rights and education bill, in that, I mean, all we did was say, hey, this is a little shady. We should probably cut it out. And so many of them just lost their mind.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
I'm going to call the cops on you.
Your policies obviously are not working, and the only reason that you wrote them the way that you did was to give people a good feeling, so that when they paid your $20,000 an hour or $20,000 salary for 4 hours worth of
overpriced
consulting fees, it gave them a good feeling.
Yeah, they were. This is like when it's just when virtue signaling goes wrong. It's blown up in their faces again, and now all they can do is scramble to try to cover it up in hopes of, like the article said, winning votes. That's all that matters about, is the public persona.
Well, and this woman ran away with $20,000 after she's already been called out for being stupid in her own field.
Hey, being stupid is nothing to be held against anyone. I mean, she made $20,000 by, quote, being stupid.
Oh,
if
that's
anything,
true. I guess she's not really as stupid as they thought.
I'm looking at the people that paid her with public educational funds and went, okay, did you vet this person? No, you just patted yourself on the back and said, what a strong, empowered woman fighting for whomever. Let's give her $20,000. Oh, so brave, so strong, so powerful. However, it does kind of show that there's a certain mentality in these people, and I mean, it's you'll know who we're talking about when we're talking about them. Let's hop over to, of all the most reliable sources, CNN. Mm-hmm. From CNN Health, they got illicit COVID-19.
CNN Health.
I know it's a bit of an oxymoron. Vaccine doses, and say they do it again in a heartbeat. Good gravy, that picture. Look at those eyes. That's just like the lady shooting her kid in the thing, staring at the camera. I just need it. I need that social acceptance. I need the virtue signal.
Yes.
I'm going to live stream this whole thing. Last July, Andrea Ogg stood outside a pharmacy in Castle Rock, Colorado, fully prepared to lie to get herself a COVID-19 vaccine. Her stomach knotted in anxiety. Ogg was ready to say she was getting her first shot when she was actually getting her third. At the time, government rules don't allow for third shots, even for immune-compromised people like her who failed to develop antibodies after 2 doses. Get the hint, lady. Quote, I was very nervous, but I am typically an honest person. But I wasn't going to tell them the truth if they asked me. There was just no way, said Ogg, 55, who was born with a cardiac defect and takes medicine to suppress her immune system so she won't reject the heart transplant she received 4 years ago. Many of them didn't want to talk publicly last year for fear of being shamed or even criminally prosecuted, but immune-compromised people tell CNN they lied or were prepared to lie, or at the very least misled. I love that. That little bit of like spin. Okay, we'll go with misled. Pharmacists and other healthcare providers to get unauthorized doses of COVID-19 vaccine. I mean, this is these people's mentality, just like her. It's all about the virtue signal. It's all about doing this. I mean, she's willing to lie, to do something that her body will reject multiple times because why again?
Well, and okay, so this article in particular, to me, has 2 reasons behind it. Sure. Number one, to show that there are people out there fighting for the vaccinations and want to get their boosters and do all this. And if that's their choice, then that's their choice. Definitely speak to your doctor.
Oh, of course. Always.
Anything health related.
Exactly.
Because again, it's an individual basis. Yep. But I really think that they are putting this out there. And they, as in CNN the Health. Propaganda machine.
Yeah, the mainstream propaganda machine. Yes.
Is because they're trying to say, look how safe it is.
Look how safe it is. Yes.
Even this person fought to get their booster before it was approved because look how safe it is.
So stunning, so brave. She ends with saying, the CDC was not protecting me. I don't know why it took them so long to act.
Well, maybe because they actually wanted to test some things first.
I know, and just the fact that it's not about it. Despite anything that this nonsense says, the picture itself says it all. She doesn't care about anything besides that picture, that selfie, staring at it, with those crazy eyes, getting another shot. The people are crazy, trying to crazy now. Oh boy. So this next one, following that lead, because that was quite a start off. This next one from ABC News. Oh man, I didn't know about this. Monica sent this to me. And this just blows my mind. Man in Germany gets 90 COVID-19 shots to sell forged passes. A 60-year-old man allegedly had himself vaccinated against COVID-19 dozens of times in Germany in order to sell forged vaccination cards with real vaccine batch numbers to protect people not wanting to get vaccinated themselves. Wow. I mean, this should be the article.
So many layers, too.
This should be the article about, look how safe it is. This guy got like... What is it? Like
90 doses.
90 doses. And when was this article dated? Is he still around? April 3rd? So I guess he is.
Vaccination centers in the eastern state of Saxony for months until criminal police caught him earlier this month. The German news agency DPA reported Sunday.
Oh, man.
90 shots.
90 shots. It says it was not immediately clear what kind of impact the approximately 90 shots of COVID-19 vaccines, which were from different brands, had on the man's personal health. And then it ends. German police have conducted many raids in connection with forgery of vaccination passports in recent months. Many COVID-19 deniers refuse to get vaccinated in Germany, but at the same I'm guessing at the same time, thanks ABC, want to have the coveted COVID-19 passports that make access to public life in many venues such as restaurants, theaters, swimming pools, or workplaces much easier.
Oh my Lord. Heaven forbid you want to have access to workplaces, swimming pools, grocery stores.
Heaven forbid you want freedom. You talk about freedom being available. No, freedom is something that needs to be fought and protected because otherwise it leads to this or worse. You know, and you say to yourself, how can it get worse than that? How can it get worse than... You know what, my friends? It can always get worse. From the Gateway Pundit, video of Chinese kneeling in streets to authorities while their vaccine passports are scanned by Chinese officials goes viral. If you haven't seen this, if you're listening on the podcast, this is messed up. It's literally a video of all these people, like literally straight down the road. They all kneel immediately, pull out their passports while the police walk by and scan them. It says Chinese citizens were captured on camera kneeling, waiting to be checked for their compliance with the country's vaccine passport requirements. A video appearing to show the Chinese kneeling has gone viral. The footage was allegedly recorded in Jinan City in Shandong province on April 1st and has so far been viewed over 450,000 times. Pause. April 1st. No. Can't be an April Fool's joke. The Chinese don't believe in humor. Never mind. The CCP has no space for humor. I shouldn't say the Chinese, but the CCP has no space for humor. I doubt this was an April Fool's prank. It says China is going all in again with COVID lockdowns and fear-mongering. Compliant Chinese are seen kneeling and waiting in line for what appears to be a check by the government to ensure they are vaccinated and have a vaccine passport that is up to date. Wow. I mean, this is messed up. Just looking at the images of it.
The most messed up part about this is that the same people who are saying, well, China's going for a zero COVID approach and this is what's going to get them there and we definitely would support this, are the same people who would look at the gay couple who went to Mexico and go, how dare the cartel try to stop them from watching birds?
Yes.
Well, you do realize that by giving in to the thought that people need to be able to track your movements and restrict you, you're not going to be allowed to go wherever you want to watch birds.
This is just, I mean, this is clown world on a level that, I mean, look at how today's show started with the left openly defending groomers and fighting back against being overbearing in schools is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And now here we are looking at essentially where I'm going to put on my tinfoil sombrero. Feel free to scoff. But this, honestly, to me, is where they were hoping we would end up. Remember the push, especially in places like New York, for the vaccine passport, and we're cutting you off from all aspects of life unless you do it. We're literally removing the choice and taking your individual health under care of the government. And if you are not compliant with what we say you should be, no freedom for you. This is where a lack of freedom gets you. And I mean, this is just, if this is the worst China ever did, then that would be it. But of course, they weld people into their houses. They take people to concentration camps. I mean, this all happened.
Well, that was in Italy that they shut them inside, right?
Or no, that was China.
Oh,
it started in China.
Italy did it too at one point. But here's the bigger thing. This is the same group of people who's pushing for mandates and passports and we're going to check all of your vaccination status, who are saying that you can choose whatever sexuality you want to be. That's what I don't understand, is that they think that these two things are separate when these two things are like
they're not related. Yeah,
mandated to have a vaccination, but you can also have the freedom of choice to be whatever sexual identity you have. Like at some point, this group is going to collide. Because you can't be mandated by the government and have freedom.
I think that you are underestimating the sheer level of cognitive dissonance that exists in these people. Like I said, they have lived in the bubble, eating their own refuse for so long. You and I, the very fact that we've brought up CNN, ABC, Fox, all of those garbage mainstream media, while simultaneously showing other articles from other sources, we are worlds ahead of the other side. I mean, you can look at polls, you can look at things. Anyone who calls themselves conservative or independent statistically has a higher chance of at least listening and hearing what the other side is talking about, whereas anyone who labels themselves within this bubble literally shuts it all out.
It's just
insane.
Scary to see people following along with policies, and you can see where this is headed. You can see where these are not working.
Let me just, at the bottom of the article here, look at this tweet here. It says, this was from, it says, background Christmas in December, the same Twitter account showed Chinese authorities carrying guns at checkpoints. The COVID guards were reportedly checking people's QR codes and green passes to ensure Chinese citizens comply with vaccine passport requirements. And I mean, that says it best. It says, the tweet says, my worst nightmare comes true again. Chinese COVID guards are carrying guns at every checkpoint to check people's QR code green passes again. If you don't comply, they can shoot you immediately. Now that I do think is I hope
that's a dramatization.
I hope that is going too far. However, I wouldn't put it past the CCP. Literally everybody who speaks out against them disappears. It's, I mean, from concentration camps to what they do to their own citizens, it wouldn't surprise me if people do just get put up against the wall. But at the same time, that is, in my opinion, at least a little hyperbole, but it doesn't change the fact that there is literally a dude standing there with a gun waiting to check your passport. Now, whether or not he intends to use that gun, we can speculate all day, but that's the intimidation factor they're putting out. That's the message they're sending is, force is here. If you're not complying, you're going to be met with that force.
Well, and my big thing now is, okay, well, if we're going to do this for COVID, then we need to do it for a lot of other diseases.
And now Gateway Pundit
at what point does it stop?
Yes, exactly. Gateway Pundit is definitely right-leaning. And you see at the very bottom, the very last line of the article, this is the world of the New World Order, where freedom is something that is simply not permitted. Boy, oh boy, I'm happy that the people that wanted this to be America did not win, at least yet, because there was a large push in the height of the COOF where they were trying to make this the norm, at least in blue states.
So here's the thing, is that to really fight this, I think the best argument is, all right, well, you're going to have a COVID vaccination screening, right? Mm-hmm. Where I have to show you that I'm up to date on my passport. Yeah. Well, you have to show me a clear STD scan.
Yeah, exactly. You start asking questions that are uncomfortable. Go ahead,
because the side that is free reign with all of their sexuality, who are transmitting all kinds of diseases and
potentially.
Potentially. But show me that you're clean and that you're not spreading something.
Yeah, I want to see your history. I want to see your entire medical history. I want to know everything about you, because if you want to make it public information...
Otherwise, you can't ride on the bus with me.
Then it all has to be public. It's all or nothing, people, and they want it all. So the best thing you can do is give it all to them.
Yeah.
This is... I mean...
It's just the same thing with the illegal immigrants. If they want them...
Exactly.
They can have them. If they want passports, absolutely.
Yep.
But then go ahead and include all the other stuff on your passport.
Yeah, exactly. And show it off proudly. Show it on your TikTok and your Twitter and your Instagram. Oh.
Well, do you remember when the people turned the COVID tests into like earrings or whatever?
Oh, God, yes. The COVID negative earrings that they would wear
like the
around.
Necklace.
And the necklace. I mean, these people, of course, now they probably don't even remember what COVID is. They're too busy onto the next current thing. The NPCs just turned in March. Ukraine. That is the new programming. It's pathetic when you see these people, especially if you know them, because we all know people like this. We all know people who went crazy with cutting off family and doing the craziest things about the COOF. And, They tried so hard to fearmonger, but the biggest elephant in the room, the unvaccinated are still around. So the campaign failed, and now it's just, Russia started a war. Everyone look, Russia. And although I do occasionally see, a headline about a new variant or something like that, overall, when's the last time you saw Fauci?
Well, and like we said, he's been slowly replaced by other doctors that they're bringing out to get their opinions on it instead of having one. And this kind of goes back to the same conversation about Kamala not wearing a mask in public. At what point do we say, okay, good. I'm glad that they're bringing on other people. I don't think that we should just allow them to memory hole Fauci, and he needs to be held accountable for the decisions that he did make. Because
he wasn't even accountable for the crap he did in the 80s. He's not going to be accountable for this. This is the guy who said you could catch AIDS from breakfast cereal.
Well, this is how we need to move forward.
Yes, there has to be a cleansing. I mean, we just have to get rid of the old guard. I hate to say it, because with the old guard, when they go, there goes their mentality too. But at the same time, it's really just, it really just comes down to you put your mask on first, then the other person's. And until we can get everyone to realize that our country is what needs attention right now, our policies, our politicians, our education, everything, what can we do? Because everybody's looking everywhere else.
But we also need to be more accepting of people when they come and they say, okay, that maybe this wasn't the best direction to take it. Now, I agree.
And that's the funny thing is, you and I, if somebody walked up to us who, let's say during the height of the pandemic, they cut us off entirely because, for whatever reason, they didn't believe what we believe and they were stuck in the bubble. They cut us off entirely. Everybody, you've heard stories going around, horror stories about family members doing these things. If you are vaccinated, if you're not vaccinated, if you wear a mask, if you don't wear a mask, whichever side, you're not allowed at insert family event here. We all saw the horror stories of them. Whether or not they are all true, at least by definition, a percentage of them probably are. And just taking that into account, if any of those individuals, whoever wronged like us or people, and I would even dare say people of a conservative or even libertarian mindset, if they came back and they ate crow and they said, okay, you know what, I got a little crazy back there, I'm really sorry, can we be friends again?
But that's the thing, is that they won't.
No, that's just it. Some of them will. Because there is a point where the cognitive dissonance, it just can't, you snap back. There is a point, and it comes for everybody, and maybe this is the point with the kids and the grooming, where they snap back and realize how crazy things have been. But
yes,
the point is, our side, and I hate to phrase it like that, but it is true, welcomes these people back. We say, it's okay, we make mistakes, here's a family. Try doing that with the cult. Try going to the cult and saying, hey, I kind of want to hear what you have to say. You will be demonized and you will be expunged.
Well, that's because they don't have like the true extreme liberal types who sit there and scream at professors.
Oh God, yeah.
They scream because they don't have anything better to say.
True. There's no coherent debate. There's no
argument. There's no reasoning behind it. No. It is specifically an emotional gut reaction to something, and the first time that they hear it. And that's why so many people have bought into this idea of the don't say gay bill.
Oh, it's just so easy to just parrot that line and say, we'll get those conservatives now, those Bible thumpers.
And just like we had issues with the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, it's all about framing.
And then what's the other big one?
Oh, I'm sure it was the, help and relocate cute cuddly puppies act. Oh, it's just they name stuff. It's just such garbage. Whatever it says, it's the opposite.
Well, TLDR has ruined the world.
Yeah. There's definitely an issue with information. Almost a war of info, huh?
You're such a dork. I love it.
You're a dork. Anyways, you know what? That's all there is to it. I mean, you forgive. The best thing you can do for somebody is forgive them and accept them. And if they're sincere,
and understand that no matter what happens, I mean, we will be us at the end of the day. And,
yes.
And that's
unapologetically so. Yes.
Fabulous. And if you like us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
Look at that
smash
beautiful
that like button. Make sure that you are listening to us on whatever platform you enjoy the most.
Yeah, I'd say Rumble's the best, personally. YouTube's kind of garbage. We don't, YouTube is what it is, but go Rumble. Rumble's growing.
But again, I'm looking forward to filming our wibbly wobbly timey-wimey rewatch, as well as now that the weather is looking more promising, and I just gotta say it, I don't want to jinx myself, but we might be out of the snowy weather and into springtime in the mitten, so we'll be doing some more gardening options.
You should not have invoked the wrath of Mother Nature.
Victory Gardens, we'll be putting up some of our lettuce and some of our other stuff and starting our seeds, and you'll get to see all of that. So looking forward to doing more of that content.
Absolutely. Fabulous. Well, that was a pretty good week. Let's hope that Ketanji Brown Jackson doesn't make it in, but she probably will. The vote's today, so we'll probably cover that Monday. You know what? I'll just say, worst case scenario, go outside, hug a family member, get a breath of fresh air, touch the grass, as they say, and enjoy life. Enjoy your weekend. Anything you'd like to close on?
Also, heading into that midterm election,
get
out and talk to your neighbors. Make sure that you are discussing what's important in your areas and starting to vet some of those nominees. School boards, local elections.
Yes, vet them all.
Work your way up.
Yep.
All the way down from the dog catcher to the next presidential hopefuls, because we'll be keeping an eye on that as well.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, take care. Have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you back here on this show Monday. But hey, maybe we'll see you Saturday night.